Hey buds, welcome back to another Unity 2D video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the logics of my 2D game RopeGolf. Before we get started, shout out to Alchemist for the suggestion. Okay, also, only 1.6% of you who are watching these videos are subscribed, so please do make sure to subscribe. Okay, let's get started. By the end of today's video, you will have a swinging ball that you can control by pressing down your left mouse button wherever, and it will create a rope, and then you can just swing the ball around, and whenever it collides with the boundaries, it will restart the game. Okay, let's get started by creating a new project. By the way, I'm going to be using 2019.3, so if you want to follow along, you can use that version. Okay, so new, let me drag this over here, and I'm going to create a blank 2D project, and I'm just going to call it RopeGolf. Okay, now let's create it. Alright, to get started, I have renamed my sample scene to main, and the next thing we need to do is change the camera color, because if you've seen the other RopeGolf video, the background is actually quite black. So I'm gonna set it to 22222, which is a good black color for the game. And the next thing we need to do is create the player. So I've created a 2D sprite, and I'm gonna set it to knob. So that's a good ball, and I'm gonna just scale it twice the size, and I'm also gonna move it. Okay, I've moved it there, and what we need to do next is add the components to our player. So let's start off by adding the rigid body 2D. The linear and angular drag are going to be 0, and I'm going to use auto mask to on. The gravity scale is going to be 0.4, and the collision detection is going to be continuous. Under constraint, I've set the freeze rotation to I've picked the freeze rotation. We also need a collider. I'm going to be using a circle collider since it is a ball, and I'm going to set the radius to 0.08. Also, for the rope, I'm going to be using a distance joint 2D. This is a joint that will maintain its distance around a connected body, so it will allow us to swing around the mouse position. The next thing we need is the controller, so I'm just going to create a new script. I'm going to call it player con, or player controller. Okay, now that it has been loaded, I'm going to start off by making some variables. So a distance joint 2D. This is a game object. It's going to be called pointer, and this is the game object that the distance joint is going to be connected to. We also need speed and max speed so that the ball doesn't go too fast, and that we can add a speed force to it every time we click down on the mouse. It's currently down. It's a bool, by the way. It's going to be used for determining whether the mouse has been just clicked or has been clicked for a long time. We also need the rigid body, and we need the vector 3 position for our pointer position. Okay. Let's have a start function and let's initialize our joint. And our rigid body. Now we need a update function. So this will be called every frame. And I'm gonna start off by getting some input. So input.get mouse button. So this input.get mouse button is getting the left click. So 0 is the left click. I'm pretty sure 1 is right click, but we just need left click. So if not currently down, which means right now currently down is false. So if it's false, then we're gonna set the pointer position. And get our mouse position. So we're setting the pointer position to the mouse position in world space. Usually when you just call input.mouse position, you'll be in camera space. But that's not what we want, since the camera can move around. But in the world space, it will still be the same if you just move the camera. So we need this conversion for it to work. Now I'm also gonna add a force to my rigid body. I'm gonna get the normalized velocity and just multiply it by speed. And now we just set currently down to true. So now that it's true, this won't be called. This won't be called even if get mouse button is down. So if the mouse button is not down, then I'm gonna set currently down to false because it's not down, and I'm gonna disable the joint because we don't want it to swing if it's not connected. We don't want it to swing if the mouse button is not down. But I'm gonna do if currently down. So if it is down, which it is, because if we're holding it down, it will call this, and then it's gonna set this variable to true, and then if it comes here and it's true, then it will be called, then this will be called for the duration of the mouse click. I mean the mouse hold. So we're gonna enable the joint. And also we only made a vector 3 and set that vector 3 to the mouse position, but remember we also have to set the pointer's transform position to the vector 3 so that the joint will start revolving around that position. And before we end this script, we need to set the connected body of the pointer to the rigid body. So the connected body of the joint to the rigid body of the pointer. so that it will be connected and it will start revolving around the rigid body. So for now, this script should be done. Let's go back to Unity and let's start making the variables. The speed will be 20 and the max speed will be 11. Now we also need a pointer. So just create an empty game object, reset the transform, and just attach a rigid body to it. I'm going to set the body type to static so that it's not affected by gravity or anything. Drag your pointer to the pointer on the script and your player. And if we start it, as you can see, alright, so I was having this issue where whenever you click play and press anywhere on the screen, it just starts revolving around the center instead of the mouse position. So after a while of looking around and trying to fix the problem, I came across that even though I'm making a 2D game, the projection on the camera is on perspective. And whenever you're making 2D games, you should have it on orthographic, because it's not 3D and it doesn't need that depth perception. So just a reminder to y'all, whenever you make 2D games, set it to orthographic. Make sure it's on orthographic. And whenever you make 3D games, make sure it's on perspective. Alright, so now when I play it, as you can see, it revolves wherever my mouse position is whenever I click it. So basically the swinging logic is now done. But there is one thing that I want to fix, and that is that if you just keep spamming, like, let me restart. If you keep spamming the left click, then it speeds up so much and it gets really hard to control. So we're gonna clamp the speed. Alright, to do this, go into the player conscript and we're gonna have an if statement at the top of the update. And this if statement will have rb.velocity.magnitude, and then if it's more than max speed, we're gonna clamp it. So this is getting the magnitude of its velocity of the vector, and it's checking if it's more than the max speed. And if it's more than the max speed, then I'm gonna clamp that magnitude. So rb.velocity equals vector2 dot clamp magnitude to rb.velocity for the rb.velocity, and we're gonna clamp it to max speed, and then we're just gonna assign it to the velocity. So if we go back, and you can keep spamming and it won't speed up. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make the boundaries where it will collide. So actually no, that is not the next thing to do. The next thing to do is to draw the actual line from the ball to your mouse position. To do this, I'm going to create an empty game object and call it rope line. I'm going to reset its transform, and I'm just going to put a line render inside its component. For the settings, the width will be 0.1. I'm pretty sure that's it. Just for your material, make sure you assign it to default line, and that's it for now. Then you go back to your player and open up the player conscript, and once you have that open, we're gonna make a new variable. It's gonna be a public line render. And then we can go down to our else statement, and whenever it's not held down, we need to disable the line. And then when it is held down, this is where we're going to initialize all the points of the line. Okay, to set the positions of the line, so there's going to be two parts of the line, the start and the end. And if you go back here, as you can see in the positions, there's only two positions, so the start and the end. And we're just going to change these to the ball and the mouse position. So line dot set position, we're going to do the first position, so 0, and we're going to set it to new vector 3 transform dot position dot x transform dot position dot y, and then 0. So this transform dot position will just get the position of whatever game object this script is attached to. So it's gonna get the position of the ball. The other one we need to set to is to the mouse position. So we can just get the pointer position and do the same thing. And now let's go back to our Unity, and if we click play, as you can see, it did not work. So I think the issue is that I forgot to assign the line render into the player script. So now that I've assigned it, it should work now. There we go, it works. There is a visible rope. Okay, let's keep continuing. The last thing we need to do is create the boundary so that I can collide with them and restart the game. To do this, I'm gonna create an empty game object and call it boundary. And then I'm gonna put a line render inside it. And I'm gonna have 9 positions, so we can create a complicated line instead of just a straight line. The width is gonna be 0.25, and for the color I put a rainbow color, so I have this saved color right here, a rainbow one. So you can put any color you want. And for the material, just use the default line. So now we can go to scene view, and we should be able to edit our line if we click this button. There you go. So now I'm just gonna quickly create a shape. All you have to do to move it is select whatever point you want and just move it around. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to create this shape. The last thing I want to do for this boundary is get some corner vertices and some end cap vertices so that the line looks smoother. Okay, so for it to collide with this line, it also needs a collider. So this boundary is gonna need an edge collider 2D. And then here, for the edge radius, it's gonna be 0.13. As you can see, you can actually see it right here. And you can even move these things around, these points, just like how the line renderer works. But the only problem with this is that you have to copy each and every point from the line to this edge collider. And I wanted to create many levels for my game, so I just created a script that will assign the points from the line render to the edge collider automatically. And that's what we're gonna do right now. I'm gonna show you how. So I'm just gonna create a script called bound. Let me open it up. And now I'm gonna create the script. So we're gonna start off by getting a line render. So line bounds. And we also need an edge collider. We need a list of the points. It's gonna be a vector 2. And then we just need a start function. We need to get the components, so edge collider 2D and line bounds. And then to assign the points from the line render to the edge collider, I just made a loop that ends okay, wait. So it's gonna loop until I equals to the amount of positions there are in the line render, and in the loop it will add to our list and for the X it's gonna get a position from the line render. It's gonna get position I, and it's gonna get the X. Then we're also gonna get the Y. Okay, last thing to do is assign this points list to the edge collider position. So to do this, we can just do edge dot points equals points dot to array, because points is a list, but edge dot points only accepts an array. Now if we go back and go to our player script, we're gonna work on the collision detection now. So okay, on collision enter, actually no, it's a 2D. On collision enter 2D. This is also a 2D collision. So if the collision game object dot tag equals to wall, so we're gonna set the boundaries tag to wall so that it can specify what to do when it collides with other things. We're gonna disable the line first. I mean, it's we're gonna disable the rope. We're gonna set the velocity of a rigid body to none. And then we're also gonna set it to is kinematic so that it doesn't get affected by gravity and just get stuck on the line. um we're gonna get the color of our sprite render and change it to red. And then I also disable the circle collider. The last thing we want to do is reload the scene so that we can start over. So at the top, make sure you're using Unity Engine scene management. And if we go down, we can just do scene manager. So load scene. And my scene is called main. So it's just gonna reload the scene. So before we test this, we need to remember to tag this to wall. So I'm gonna add a new tag and then go back to our boundary and tag it to wall. Now if we click play and collide, there we go. So it is now working. Fully functional RopeGolf level. Alright, the last thing I'm gonna teach you today is the glow effect. To do the glow effect, I just got post-processing and added a few effects. To get post-processing, you can go to Window and Package Manager. Let everything load and scroll down until you see post-processing. Then you need to install it. Okay, now that post-processing has been installed, go to your main camera and add the post-process layer. Now you're gonna set this layer to everything, and that's pretty much it. And then create an empty game object called post-process, and add a post-process volume. Click is global, and for the profiles, make a new profile. And as you can see, there's no effect set on this volume, so let's add the bloom effect. This is the one that what it actually does is get the bright parts of the render and makes them brighter. So the intensity, let me check what I set it to, but actually we can just go to the game and see it happen as we increase. There you go. Now obviously this is probably a bit too much, just a bit, but that's how you get the glow effect. I'm probably gonna set it to lower though, so maybe about 20. It really makes the game look a lot nicer. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you really liked it, please do make sure to subscribe and like. Also, keep the suggestions coming. It really helps us a lot. Alright, bye.